So I'm going to show you coolant temperature sensor 103 and 109. I assume that must be max, min. It must be cooling it down to 103 and it must be heating it to 109. And what I discovered after using my system for a while is that the coolant reservoir was not getting hot. And I kept thinking, that's odd. So I turned off the heating, the core for the radiator heat core. And lo and behold, the coolant temperature went up from 100 to 110. I assume that's the max. Because I kept wondering, why isn't the reservoir getting warm to the touch? The car actually uses the heater core to cool the engine. Now, the fans have not come on yet, but I'm thinking I can live with that. So I'm impressed at the coolant management system. Now I realize it's about 55 degrees in the garage. And the fans are not on. The engine temp is 110 degrees centigrade, 111. And this reservoir now, the overflow reservoir, is now getting hot. I mean, it's hot. This thing is seriously hot. I don't think I can hold on to it for a while. It'll actually burn me. And then I can start feeling this is starting to get warm. This hose is starting to get warm. This is getting warm. And whatever this is not particularly warm. It's cool, it's room temp. But I can feel that it's getting hot now. And I kept wondering, why aren't the car's fans coming on? Oh, and this is getting hot. So something about the car, the heater core, it may actually be using the intercooler radiators in here to actually dispose of heat. Not 100% sure. Because obviously intake air comes in, it splits, it's cooled, goes into the car, goes into the compressor, gets compressed, generates more heat. The heat is taken up by these radiators and transferred to the cooling system. So I sat here for about 25 minutes trying to figure out what's going on. These hoses are getting very hot, and yet this overflow tank, the reservoir tank, was not getting hot. And I said, well, this is silly. Why am I emptying this if it's not getting hot coolant in it? Because clearly it's not circulating the coolant. So I stepped back, turned off the heater core in the car, which obviously gets seriously hot, because with my technique, I am not draining the heater core. Now, the heater core coolant is obviously circulating, but it appears to be confined to just the engine block. It's not coming over here to take advantage of this coolant. But once I turned off the heater core, turning off the heat in the cabin, this is now getting hot. So I like that, because what it does is it's circulating the coolant from the engine through here, because that's the only place it can get the heat. And I don't have to drive the car anywhere. It's a waste of time. So I am going to renew my coolant flushing replacing technique. I already drained the bleeder screws, which had a fair amount of air in them. I've done it once already. So I have more coolant ready to go. I'm going to use the same technique. The same G13 coolant. Yeah, that's what FCP Euro says. And we'll go from there. It's the right color. Gonna get this nice and hot. It's not so hot to touch now that I'm concerned, but it is definitely warm, which means that it appears that the coolant's coming in here. It's heated. Like I said, this is seriously warm. really warm. Comes into here. This is much warmer. And I assume, and this is getting warm. So it's starting to mix the heated coolant in here, which is part of my technique. And this hose is getting warm, but this is seriously hot. So I'm just gonna let the car idle. It's in the garage, obviously. The fans can come on when needed. I've got the OBD2 reader running, which will record any issues with the coolant temp. The gauge is running normal range. Car's pissed off because I've got the key in my pocket. So I have modified my technique, and it's in much way a much simpler technique. Once you confirm that the heater core is free of air, which obviously is the traditional technique, you drive around, you turn it on high, it pushes the coolant through the heater core. Traditionally speaking, if there's no heat coming through the heater core, it's blocked either by air or by sludge or something. Then let's turn off the heater core so that none of the heat from the engine can be exhausted through the heater core. And just let it sit and idle. And as I said, feel this, it gets really, I can't, that's too hot to hold on to. Let it circulate into the reservoir tank, come out, and do its thing. Much easier than driving the car. And clearly you can do this in the winter when normally the air passing through the radiator would keep the center engine very cool. That's one thing, if it's 30 degrees outside, you don't really need the fans. So, new technique, new way of doing things. It took me a while to figure it out. Sorry if I screwed anybody up, if it didn't make any sense, but I hope it makes sense now. Hope you're having a good day. Love you all. Bye.